webinars. Today's episode, recorded on December 20th, 2020, is QuickBooks Online Top Features of 2020. So in this episode, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quick kind of review and summary of all the things that were added or improved to QuickBooks Online during 2020 that I'm excited about to continue using in 2021 and beyond. I'm also going to talk about the upcoming webinars I have for the year 2021. And lastly, if we have time, I'll mention the one feature I'm really excited about that Intuit that has announced already for 2021. So their own feature they're going to add in 2021. So first, let's talk about some of the upcoming webinars I have going on next year. So on January 21st, which is the third Thursday of the month, it will be QBO for construction and contractors, parts 1 of 6. If you are attending this webinar live on Zoom on December 10th, you don't have to register. You don't have to do anything extra. You can just log in and have access to that webinar that's coming in January. There's a registration link if you want to share it with anybody else that wants to attend that webinar. That's a free webinar. There's no cost to attend. And I guarantee you it will be one of the most feature-rich webinars you will ever see on the topic of QBO for construction and contractors. As a follow-up to that webinar, we're going to have a complete 6-part series. So 5 additional episodes. And that's based on your feedback from Facebook. I asked many questions in our QB Power Users group in Facebook. And if you're not part of it, I suggest you attend it. And the topic that got the most votes is construction contractors and project-based businesses. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and do a 6-part series on construction and project-based business. That's not available for purchase yet. That will be available for purchase after the first episode. And the first episode will be free, and there will be tons of valuable content on the first episode. All right, so that's going to be the 6-part series on that. There will be a coupon. There will be a coupon code on the day of the 21st, which will allow people to buy it, access to it for $300, but it's going to be on sale for $500 to the general public, to people that are not part of my webinar series and that sort of thing. So you'll see a price tag for $500, but every one of you will be able to buy it for $300 after we announce it, and you'll get an email, you will get a link, you will get all that. I like to reward people that are loyal to the webinars and to the group and kind of like the people in our community versus just random people that find these things off the street. So that's why you'll see a higher price tag on the webinars versus the stuff that will be offered to this group in particular. That we also are going to have a 3-week focused practice workshop. This is for accounting professionals wanting to learn and improve their practice management skills. So let's call it that. We're going to teach positioning, which is really marketing your specialty, pricing, which is mostly about detecting what the customer values and pricing it based on that value that the customer, the value you provide for your customers. And lastly, the productization of your services, which I guarantee you is going to be one of the coolest things that you'll ever learn, which is streamlining your services by creating a product instead of a custom service and being able to do more of that work for a fixed price and sort of making it feel more like a simple transaction rather than a custom solution. So value pricing and productization of services are kind of at odds, but it's important to offer both, I think. And I've done tons of productization, which has really helped me scale. So that this 3-week course with these 3 topics will be the first 3 weeks of January. You can, there's 3 ways you could have been part of it. We had a one-on-one coaching option, which has already been sold out. It was only one person bought it, and that's it. But for everybody that wants just access to the webinars, all the info, all the content will be $375, 3 webinars back to back, first Monday of each first 2 weeks of January. And for people that want to get a little bit of a group coaching, we have a small group of 5, 3 people have signed up already, you can pay a little bit more and be part of that group. And you can get coaching both from me personally and the other members, your colleagues from the group. And what's really nice is that group of 5 becomes an accountability group. And you guys can kind of like on your own keep each other accountable. So for anybody that wants to sign up for that, only the first 2 that sign up will fill out the group, and that's it. That would be the end of it. So the coupon code is there. If you sign up before December 15th, you get 10% off. Then in probably May or June of 2021, I'm already writing and building a 3-week advisory services workshop. I'm writing this alongside of my book that I'm writing called The Art of Advisory. So I'm kind of building both 2 things together. And it's going to be similar to the Focus Practice workshop, but I'm going to teach you how to discover advisory opportunities, package your services around advisory, and provide transformative advisory services. That's going to be after tax season next year. I will announce the details of that in January 2021 after the first 3-week workshop ends. So the second cohort of the first 3-week cohort ends in January. And this is also based on your feedback from the QB Power User Facebook group. So thank you everybody for giving information on that. Let's jump right in and talk about my favorite features of QuickBooks Online 2020. So my first feature is the bank statement import. This is technically not new. This was announced maybe 2 years ago in QuickBooks Connect. However, they hadn't really implemented it on a large scale, and most of the major banks are not on it. However, Bank of America is. And QuickBooks actually released a document. This was released maybe November of 2020. And if you click on that link that's in the slides, you will have this 100-page PDF document that tells you every single bank that is connected to QuickBooks Online and that can automatically download bank statements from QuickBooks Online. So the major banks are not here. So if I were to search for Citibank, right? Citibank is not here. If I were able to search Wells Fargo is not here. If I search Chase is not here. But Bank of America is. Okay? Bank of America is. So again, you can just click on that link on the slides, and it shows only, and I believe that's only the US banks, not the Canadian banks. But Bank of America was supposed to be connected like this month, like December of 2020, but I don't know exactly what the official release date of that one is. All I know for sure is that the major banks are not ready yet. So generally speaking, the major banks are not ready yet. I think Canada has one step ahead of us with major Canadian banks connecting to QuickBooks Online, but on in the US, which is my market, hasn't been there. So I want you to check it out, download the list, and if you have any clients that have any of the banks are on that list, go into the reconcile screen and click on view statement, and you'll be able to download the statements from there. So that's all I'll say about that. Let's go to the next topic, which is bank feeds improvements. Now, Intuit has done tons of improvements to bank feeds ever since like 2015. As a matter of fact, I think I used to be very much against QuickBooks Online as a whole. I've been a QuickBooks Desktop guy all my life. And it wasn't until probably the first major improvement of bank feeds in 2015 where I started making the shift myself to kind of see, the light per se, that QuickBooks Online was a great and a good product to kind of like put my clients on. And I think bank feeds has been the one thing that has made QuickBooks Online truly great versus both the desktop product and the competitors. So these are the things that I want to point out that I've seen as a major improvement during 2020. So the first thing you'll see is the collapsible account list. So you're going to have an account list that can be collapsed, and it could also be reordered. So those 2 things are really important. You can also do dating filters, which is really, really cool for people that download, for example, 12 months worth of transactions, and they only want to reconcile 1 month at a time. You will just filter it and just do 1 month, and you kind of just do your bank feeds for 1 month. You reconcile and you move forward. So during tax season for accounting professionals, a date filter is going to be awesome. That way you make sure QuickBooks is not matching things to the wrong month or stuff like that. So I think that doing 1 month at a time with the dating filter, it's really useful. He's also had a really comprehensive transaction status filter, including transactions with missing payees or missing customers. And this is all in the bank feeds workflow. This is not after it's been categorized. These are all the things that haven't been categorized yet. But it's really cool to just focus on the ones that don't have a payee yet. We'll do a couple of examples of that. Also, the description search filter is absolutely amazing. I mean, it's just a game changer for people trying to be really surgical with this bank feed to really speed up the workflow. And the Excel export that was added, it's really, really awesome too, because you can export the stuff to Excel, clean it up, and import your vendor list and save yourself so much time on data entry. On the settings button on the right hand side, on the options, you have a lot of really interesting things that you can choose to show or not show columns like payee name, which honestly, that one shouldn't even be an option. The payee should always be there, but you have the option to take it off, or option to add it in, which is something that you need to proactively do because some QBO files don't have the payee column there, which really drives me insane, honestly. Then you can choose to add the class or the location in here. Unfortunately, you don't have customer job as an option in the columns or tags as an option in the columns. You have to actually expand the transaction to be able to add a customer project or a tag. The grouping is absolutely amazing. You can group by month, by description, by assigned payee. This is once the QuickBooks recognizes a payee, by money in, money out, and by the assigned account. So if there's already been a category, you can group it by category. You can also choose to do it in debit, credit column style or positive, negative style. You can switch between Intuit's clean vendor list and the real bank data, which I love as well. And you can disable suggestions. The other stuff that's worth pointing out in bank feeds specifically is they added a new option, record as a credit card payment. I honestly wish, and I've given this feedback to Intuit many times, I wish that there was a setting where we can turn off transfer and record as a credit card payment to avoid confusing our customers, because unfortunately these transfer and credit card payment options are awesome for experienced users and they're catastrophic for brand new users, just because people really don't know what the heck they're doing. So I like the fact that they added the option there, that they added record as a credit card payment, because as an experienced user, sometimes I want to pick and choose between all the available transactions. But again, I so wish we could turn them off. Like, just, opt in to turn them off. Don't. I'm not telling QuickBooks to kill it. I'm saying just give me the option to go into the settings and temporarily disable it. Trust me, I think the customer experience will improve. That's why I make so many videos about explaining how this works and trying to help people avoid using them, just because they just create a lot of extra work for accountants. So this is not necessarily something I'm happy about, that they added this additional credit card payment feature, but I recognize the value of it to an experienced user. The other really cool thing that they added, and this was based on my feedback, and I'm not saying that I'm the only one that has given Intuit this feedback, but I specifically recognize repeating this one over and over and over. The memo function in the bank rules used to override the original memo when you added something in the memo. Now, if you click on this checkbox that says add memo, it appends the memo. I know that sounds weird, but I'm telling you, that's a game changer right there. Because if you create rules and you want to quickly run a report of transactions that were automatically created by rules, you just add some special text to it and you'll be able to find those transactions. So appending to a memo is, in my opinion, a game changer. Although it sounds like something really dumb, it actually is. And I've given this feedback to Intuit many times. And I'm glad, I think I found it last month, this option there. So I'm really glad that they added that. So we'll do an example of that. And then we have the default expense account, which is you can go into any vendor, you can go edit a vendor, and you can select the default expense account for that specific vendor, which will automatically populate that account when creating a manual transaction. So this is not for bank feeds. This is not for bank feeds. So if you create a default account here, it will not work on bank feeds because bank feeds works off bank rules. But when you're entering transactions manually, it will do it in there. So that's actually a really cool tool. Okay, so let's take a break for a second and do the actual demo inside QuickBooks. So let me open up my QuickBooks Online. For now, while I launch QuickBooks Online here, does anybody have any questions or comments about what we have covered so far? So somebody's asking, how are appending memos useful? So the kind of the concept I was trying to allude to, and I'm going to bring it on here so we can cover that. And let me zoom this in, get a little bit better visual. Okay. And I'm going to go into bank feeds, transactions, banking, and then I'm going to pull up maybe a vendor that shows up a lot. So let me go to here let me see if I have another vendor that shows up here a lot that would have a detailed bank memo. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the settings button, which is the small gear or the gear on top of the banking grid. And then I'm going to click on this box that says show bank details. Extremely important option, show bank details, because show bank details will actually give me the raw information that came from the bank. The difference is if I don't do show bank details, QuickBooks will give me the cleaned up version that comes from the bank. And the reason why that's important is because sometimes the bank detail, such as the store number or the location of the gas station, whatever it happens to be, that could be relevant. Like I've had a client that tells me, hey, every time I go to the supermarket, when it's this store number, which is next to my house, that's a personal expense. But when it's this store number, which is next to my office, that's going to be like toilet paper and, well, you can't find toilet paper anymore, but paper towels and coffee and sugar and that sort of thing. So sometimes that information is valuable. So what I like about having the original bank, the original bank details, and also this option that says copy bank detail to memo, that means that every time a transaction gets created, even though the vendor gets cleaned up when you select the vendor, the original memo shows up. And better yet, if you create a rule around it, so I'm going to create a rule here, and I'm going to call this rule 711. Okay. And I'm going to say, look, any transaction that uses this vendor called 711, automatically set it into auto expenses and into gas and fuel. However, because I'm adding this automatically, I'm going to delete the memo that's being transferred in here. And I'm going to add a memo called hashtag auto. Okay. Actually, that auto is confusing. Let's do hashtag bank rule. Okay. So what I'm doing essentially, pay attention to this, is I'm telling QuickBooks that this transaction from 7-Eleven automatically send it into my gas and fuel account, automatically select it as a payee, automatically add the bank rule hashtag to it, and click on add this memo to append it to keep the original one and do an auto confirm so QuickBooks doesn't ask me what to do about that transaction anymore. So I'm going to click on save here. And then you're going to notice after this bank rule is created, all of my 7-Elevens will actually disappear from my bank rules. If I click on my bank feed, if I click on categorize, notice that all these transactions were already entered. If I go into my profit and loss report, I'm just going to pull up my profit and loss report really quick here. And I open up my fuel and gas expenses. Notice that let me just open up all my transactions added the hashtag bank rule in it. And the nice thing about the hashtag bank rule that we added is that now if I go into, let's do a find. So I'm going to go here to an advanced search, and I want to search for any transactions in which I didn't manually confirm in banking. Basically, all I did was use the bank rule. I do hashtag bank rule or whatever hashtag you created, and then I can click on search, and then QuickBooks will find all the transactions that contain the hashtag. So the hashtag has nothing to do with the QuickBooks tags. This is a memo hashtag, right? If you want to do a tag, okay, that could work as well. Technically, you could create a tag called automatic or manual. So if you wanted to go into tags here and create a new tag and call it, let's do a new tag group, and we call it entry type. We're just gonna experiment with this. We do entry type, and then I can do one called manual versus bank feed. And again, I'm not necessarily telling you that this is exactly why this is not exactly why I would use a tag for, but I'm just saying as an example, right? If you wanted to do something like this, and then you go into your banking rules and you start creating multiple rules, and you can tag them that way. So for example, I'm going to create a rule for this particular vendor. I'm going to click on create rule, come into the backside, and do it for all transactions. And then the category in this case will be, let's say, meals. Okay, so I'm showing you the contrast. Then I want to do the vendor. And then on the tag, I can put here bank feed. And then basically, essentially every single transaction that gets added with bank feeds, it will be under the tag feed, which is different than possibly doing, the hashtag bank feed trick. So it's two different tricks. So let's just be clear. There's two different tricks here. One is to add a memo with a hashtag that you can search in the memo, and the other one is using an actual tag. Both techniques work in this case. I'm just kind of showing you how these features can be used in a real powerful way. Something that Intuit doesn't really make a big deal out of advertising, but I think it is pretty great. So I'm going to go to save here. And then I'll show you, I can go into reports, and I can search for tag. And I can do a profit and loss by tag or transaction list by tag. And I can select my entry type. And then these are all the transactions that were entered from bank feeds. But if I enter the transaction manually, so stay with me on this. So let's say I enter the transaction manually. Let me open up banking in another tab here. And let's say I'm going to create some transactions manually. And again, it will require the discipline of you entering these transactions manually. But let's say I want to enter these annual membership fee for $95. I want to enter that manually. So I'm going to go to new expense. So I went to new expense. I selected, let's say that's an Amex fee. Not sure what that is. And that was for account 0289, and the date was 3/31/2020, and let's say this is a bank fee. So it's a standard bank fee, and I'm going to tag it as a manual entry. Again, it will require the discipline of having to use the tag in that fashion, but I'm kind of showing you the difference between the two. And that was $95, and I'll do a save and close. So I enter that transaction manually, and I tagged it as such, and then I can confirm the transaction in here. Let me just make sure that I put it on the right account to make sure we confirm the matching. So that's all correct, and that was the 1st March. Save and close. And in theory, this one should catch it as a match. Let's just make sure it does. I'm going to hit refresh here for a second. So this should have caught it as a match. It didn't. So I'm going to click on find match and match it. Click on save. Okay. But once I matched it, I'm going to go back into my reports and go into tag and select my entry type. So even though this transaction was matched, it was originally entered as a manual data entry. It's a little bit different than the hashtag bank feeds, but again, I'm trying to get you to think just sort of above and beyond, how this, how this functions. Okay, and just kind of getting you thinking about, the tags and hashtags and bank feeds, and that's kind of an advanced topic, I understand, but I think it's important for you to kind of see it one way or the other. Now, the default transaction creation, for example, you see this vendor called AleMeat, which is the account that is going to his meals for clients and events. If I were to go into my vendors and I went to edit, I'm going to go to edit this vendor and click on edit. I'm going to change the default account for this one to, let's say, auto insurance. Actually, let's do a different one. Let's put under travel expense. Let's put on the telephone expense, more clear. I just want to make sure it's 100% clear. Telephone expense, and I click on save. So even though I had entered a particular rule for AleMeat, like I can actually go back into my banking and go into my rules and notice that AleMeat has a specific rule, which is categorizing things into sales and marketing, advertising and promotion, and meals for clients and events. So when something's being created from bank feed, it's going to be, when it's being created from bank feeds, it's going to go straight into that category. However, when I'm creating it from scratch, so if I go to new expense and type AleMeat, notice that this will default to telephone expense. So you're going to have one set of rules, for bank feeds, and another set of rules for manual data entry. Another issue that I see here, or another issue with this feature, which means it's technically not complete, is if I were to go into the bank register, and it was giving me issues earlier. So I'm going to make the assumption that it doesn't work on the bank register because of the earlier ones, but let's just double check here. I'm going to go into the bank register and I'm going to create the expense transaction from here. I'm going to type AleMeat. Okay, so so this is the issue I was having. So unfortunately, this feature was working when I was entering the transaction on a manual entry, but not in the register. So a manual entry like an expense or a check or a bill, the default expense shows up in the register, it doesn't. So something into it needs to look into. The other issue that I noticed, and I see it in the comments here as well, and it looks like it's working the way it's not supposed to, like last time, is that the bank feed, the rule is replacing the description completely. That's not the way it was working for me yesterday when I did the test. So I guess you're right. I guess something's broken there. Let's try this again. Let's do another rule. Let's do this audible one. So let's see if this works. So audible vendor, and here's my original memo. Let me go ahead and create the rule and call it audible. And then let's say it's for this specific credit card, and replace the memo and click on add this memo to matching transactions. Let's do hashtag bank feed. I'm gonna try this one more time because it wasn't working correctly. So that's selected there. I'm gonna take out auto confirm for a second, click on save, and also make sure that I have copy bank detail to memo. Okay, so let's see. So if I open Audible, it's actually replacing it completely. That's very strange. So for some reason, this was working for me yesterday. I tested it. It was being appended, or maybe I had the illusion that it was being appended because I literally just noticed this, but I don't know why it's doing it. So So I'm not 100% sure. So sorry about that. Not sure why I thought it was working, but I guess it's not. So going back to the drawing board on that one, I apologize. I could have sworn it. Man, now I'm stumped in the middle of a live webinar, completely stumped. I thought this was supposed to work this way. Let's see. Add this memo to all matching transactions. That makes tons of sense. Let me uncheck that. See if that does anything. Let me click on save. Maybe I wasn't supposed to check it. Not sure. Let's see Audible here. No. Yeah. All right. Well, what can we do? Something I thought it was supposed to work as designed, something that people had given me the feedback that they were going to do it and implement it. It looks like the check mark is there, but the actual functionality is not. Okay. Well, what can I do? Sorry about that. All right. So let's move on to tags. And we still did the tag. We did a quick example on tags, but I wanted to answer sort of the big tags question, because tags were added, I believe, like February of this year, or like maybe October of the last year. And then they were under for a little bit, and they didn't get fully released until I believe June or July of this year, because it was a very long, probably one of the longest beta tested features I had seen. And one of the questions that a lot of my colleagues send me privately, or I even see it on the Facebook group, is they don't understand the value of tags when you have classes, when you have locations, when you have custom fields. So the discussion of where is it best to use tags, classes, locations, or custom fields is actually a sort of a deep discussion, and we won't have time to cover this in this webinar, but I'd like to give you the 50,000 feet view of it. So tags available across all versions of QBO. I would say all versions of QBO have tags, which is actually a great thing, and that's a great feature. And for many of you, if your client cannot be on Advanced or Plus, tags is the only option you have. Tags is only one per transaction, not per line, and you can properly get a P&L by tag. But you're not going to be able to get a balance sheet by tag. And also, unfortunately, for some reason, tags are only available in a specific area, in specific areas of QuickBooks. So for reporting. So you can't expect tags to be everywhere in every report, unfortunately. So that's kind of the limitation of it. You got a maximum of 300 tags. That's amazing. That's tons. That's great. Then classes. So the basic difference between classes and locations is that classes allow you to do one per line, where locations is one per transaction. But where locations outshine classes is you can get a proper balance sheet by location, but you cannot get a balance sheet by class. Now, classes and locations combined are limited to 40 on QBO Plus, and they're unlimited on QBO Advanced. The way tags and locations work is probably identical. Both tags and locations are one per transaction, and that's it. But tags allow you to have multiple dimensions, where locations is a single dimension. So in that way, tags is more powerful than locations. But you cannot get a balance sheet by tag. So I would say that's the biggest difference. Now, custom fields, which are available in Advanced only, or at least the ones worth working on, those can be printed on forms. You cannot print a class, a location, or a tag on forms. So a custom field is something that's customer facing as well as for reporting purposes. Okay, it's available in many detailed reports. So custom fields, it's available in more reports than tags on the detail level, but it's not available in any summary report. So you cannot get a P&L by custom field or a balance sheet by custom field. You can get detailed transactions and show the custom field, which is the opposite of tags. Tags can do a P&L by tag, but you cannot see it in many details. At the end of the day, the limitation of custom fields not being available in summary reports and tags not being available in detail reports is simply just a glitch. It's a programming glitch and incompleteness from the Intuit programming team. Right? They can't cover everything in one shot, so they need people like us to kind of like discover the flaws and the limitations and hopefully push through more changes and updates. But we always want everything all in one shot, right? Unfortunately. But I'm gonna go into tags real quick, and for most people, tags should be automatically in there. If you are not in a US version, then I have no clue really, honestly, why tags is not there. I heard reporting that in non-US versions of QuickBooks Online, tags are not available yet. I think Canadians were reporting they don't have tags yet. For some people, they have to click on QuickBooks Labs and turn on tags in here. They have to go into QuickBooks Labs and turn on tags in there in order to be able to see them. So that might be one of the reasons why you're not getting tags yet if you're clicking on the gear menu and not seeing them. Now I'm going to go into tags, okay, and I'm just going to talk about tags real quick. I do have a detailed video on tags in YouTube, so obviously welcome you to check that out. But I think tags is a game changer. One, because you can have multiple tag groups, which essentially allows me to add multiple dimensions of data into every transaction. So for example, I'm going to use salesperson as one of them. Okay, and then I can make these tags orange. It's actually really cool being able to have the tags by color too. So we're going to have Robert and let's say Sophia. These are the two salespersons. And then I'm going to hit done. And then I'm going to go back and do a new tag group. And we're going to call this country of shipping. And let's say we sell to, let's say 3 countries. So let's make this pink. Let's say we sell to the US, Canada, and Mexico. Okay, so we got 4 tag groups. We got entry type, which we did an example of, bank feed manual. And then we did sales type. We didn't talk about this, but I created this before. Let's say you have an in-person sale or an online sale. You got a salesperson information, and then you got country of shipping. So that's actually really cool. We can, literally create unlimited amount of tags, up to 300 tag groups and individual tags that we can use. So that's actually pretty neat. So let's say, for example, I were to, let's do it through banking. It might be easier through banking. So let's pick the checking account here. And let's take some of these deposit amounts. Okay, and let's do some income. So let's say, for example, this $37,000 is a sale. So I'm going to put this under, let's say, Intuit merchant. I'll create a customer. And then these are, put it under services, that's fine. And then under tags, let's say we ship all the stuff to the US. And also this was a bank feed entry. And the salesperson was Robert. And this was an online sale. So notice I can add all these multiple tags. So awesome. So all these multiple tags and click on confirm. And then I can go to this other transaction here and break it down. So let's say this was all Mexico, and this was a bank feed, and this was Robert, and this is online sales. And I'll do a couple just so we can get a nice pre-report out of it. Okay. Of course, if you have multiple transactions on this one deposit, you would have a different process here. And let's say these were in-person sales. Confirm. Okay. So let's say, for example, I go to reports, and I'm going to search all the reports available for the tag, and I go to profit and loss by tag group. Then I have to choose which tag group I want to see. So I got country of shipping, click on run report. There's my sales, Canada versus Mexico. Entry type, run report. Okay, they all came in through the bank feed. Okay, but let's say, for example, I were to create an invoice manually. And for here, my customer A. And we'll pick an item here, a random, just our basic item. Let's do a service called sales, and we send that over to the generic income account, and that's $40,000. And we'll tag this to, let's say, Mexico sales, manual entry, Sophia, in-person sales. And let's make this today's date. And do a save and close. And go back to my report. Okay, so we're doing a report on entry type, run report. There we go. This is all my transactions entered for bank feed and the ones that are manual. Now, one thing I wanted to clarify on the PowerPoint. Where's my PowerPoint? On my PowerPoint, when I say one tag per transaction, I meant that you cannot tag per line item. So the tag is for the overall transaction. However, you can have multiple tag groups. I think that maybe I should have clarified that in here. So one tag per tag group, no item level tags. Maybe that's a better way to explain that particular piece. Okay, so I think that might have been something I should have noticed. So all right, so one tag per tag group and no item level tags, which is different than classes who can have item level tags. So I wanted to clarify that. I didn't mean you're limited to one tag per transaction. I meant you cannot have multiple tags across line items. So let's do the other tag here, salesperson. Click on run report, and there's my sales by salesperson. And then I can go to sales type, go to run report, and there's in-person sales versus online sales. So really, really interesting what you can do with tags. To me, it's the next level really of reporting. From a P&L perspective, I think that classes and tags are probably about the same. Actually, classes, locations, and tags from a P&L perspective, they're the exact same. Tags are more powerful from the perspective that you can have multiple tag groups being used all in one shot. There's also a really interesting one that I think is worth mentioning, which is the ungrouped tags. Those are really crazy, right? The ungrouped tags. So I'm going to create a tag that doesn't have a group. It's going to be an ungrouped tag. So let's say these are going to be, I'm going to call this one review. And I'm going to call this other tag complete. And notice that I'm not adding a group on it. So I just created two loose tags, unaffiliated tags. Let's call it that. So if I were to create a new invoice, for example, and I pick, let's say, a different customer here, and I pick an item. When I click on the drop down, you're going to notice that there's unaffiliated tags. If I pick unaffiliated tags, I can actually double on them. So if you want to restrict one of the drop down options, you would use a tag group. If you don't want to restrict it, then you would use these tags. Okay. Why is this important, right? Because let's say, for example, I want to tag this one. I want to tag this one transaction review. I'll put here 25,000. I want to tag this transaction review because when I go back into my reports and I go into reports and I go to tag and I go to transaction list by tag group, you will notice that there is ungrouped tags is actually a group called ungrouped tags. So you can actually come in here and see all the transactions that are marked as an ungrouped tag, like these ones that are marked to be, let's call it reviewed or whatever it happens to be. But if I go back into this transaction and I delete the tag or replace it with a new tag called complete, for example, okay, so I delete it or replace it with a new one called complete. When I go back into my tags report, okay, my ungrouped tags report, now they're showing under that complete group. Now the other really cool thing is if I do a profit and loss by tag, so let's do profit and loss by tag group, okay, and I select, for example, I think this is working already. Yes, it was working already. So I'm going to do I'm going to go to tags here and only show my country or shipping US tag and not group it by tag group. Let's see if that's working. Yeah, that is working. So if you run a profit and loss by tag group report and then select total only, but then go to customize and pick the specific tag, you will get a P&L just for that tag, assuming that you wanted it to work similar to the way classes work. However, when you try to run a regular report, I think that was the case. I forget which one was it? Let me try to run a regular report here. Profit and loss. If I were to run a regular report and then try to run a tag, so that was the issue. So the tag filters is not available in the regular report. So I can't just run a regular P&L and then run a tag, which is ridiculous in my perspective. But again, Intuit builds things as they go, and that's what we got. So you have to run first the P&L by tag report. So you do the P&L by tag report. Then you can filter and let's say only show my US sales and click on run. Okay, so far so good. And then maybe let's total it by locations. I'm gonna click on run report and let's leave that here for a second. I'm gonna go into this transaction here. Okay, and I'm gonna give this a location. So we're gonna mix in tags and locations in here. So we're gonna make this as a deposit, not a good one to use. So let's do an invoice. And we'll do an invoice for location Miami office. And these are sales, and let's make this 15,000. And we'll use US sales as a tag. Perfect. We're just doing that tag for now. And then just do Miami office for this one. I'm going to click on save. Let me do save and new. Pick another customer. I'm going to do US sales as well. And then I'm going to do, let's say, New York office. And then we got the generic account, and let's make this 20,000. Okay, so let's do the ultimate test to see if this works exactly as designed. So we go to reports, and we go to profit and loss by tag, and we go to customize, filter, only show my US sales based on tag, run report, and do it by locations. And boom, as designed, great. So one of the things sometimes with Intuit, you really never know whether they actually complete a feature, and this was done with tags. And I was sure this was going to happen because I did something similar for a client. But sometimes in webinars, like in the bank fee thing, you're sure something works, and then during the live webinar, it doesn't, right? That's just how it is. So these are the type of things that I'm going to be working on heavily in the webinar for construction clients. So when we talk about that specific webinar that I'm building, when we go deep into the webinar for construction contractors, once we get past like episode 3, where we're doing sort of the basic job costing reports, that's where we're going to get really creative, specifically for contractor clients with these tags. Because I have a contractor client that the type of tags that we do, they're really cool. We do tags like job status, right? And we have job status like awarded, in process, completed, that sort of thing. And then we tag it all to an estimate, that sort of thing, right? So that's actually really cool. So we can run an estimate report, and every estimate would be a job, basically. And then we run a report of those estimates based on job status. We also have another one that we've done, which is completion month. Believe it or not, this is really cool too. So we have completion month. And then we have this like big tag list under it. We have, January 2021 and February 2021. So what it allows them to do is allows them to get kind of a holistic view of all the open projects that they have. And based on that estimate, they can see, when that job is supposed to be completed. So really, really interesting. Somebody's asking about tags for nonprofits, restricted and non-restricted. I guess it could work, Katie, but I'm not a nonprofit guy, so I would like to avoid answering nonprofit questions. my friend Linda Swick, who's answering in the chat, is saying to use classes for that. So because classes will be a lot more interesting for tags for non-profit restricted and non-restricted donations. But I can't. I think I'm not sure if you need a balance sheet with restricted and non-restricted, and if you do, then you would need locations instead of that. So it's actually pretty interesting. Okay, what else we have here? I think we only got a couple minutes left, so I'm gonna skip custom fields just because an actual demo of custom fields, because I can't do it justice in a quickly 5 minutes. But I will add a couple things about custom fields. In Advanced only, you can add drop-down custom fields, and each drop-down custom field can have up to 100 items. It's actually pretty great. Custom fields can be either for a customer, for a vendor, or for a transaction. So if you select a transaction, they will be available on every transaction, but they will not be available as a field to the customer or to the vendor. If you pick customer, they're going to be available as a field to the customer plus in a transaction. So customer and vendor are technically more powerful options than transaction by itself, because it could also be used as a custom field to the actual name entry. So it's up to you how you want to use it. Both customer and vendor option for the custom field allow you to also open up the custom fields in the forms. So I really don't understand why that transaction field exists. It should actually be customer, vendor, or both, honestly. Or it should be, or I don't, in my opinion, shouldn't be. They shouldn't even have that. Just have a custom field, choose the transactions, and then depending on the customer vendor, you can add that in there. A couple of things, a couple of caveats to add is that neither custom fields nor tags, so either custom fields or tags, are available in the API, which means that no data entry import software, no third-party app, no add-on to QuickBooks, whatever you want to call it, can touch or access tags or custom fields. So it means that you can't run reports outside of QuickBooks with tags or custom fields, and it means you can't import data with tags and custom fields. So if you have a client with, I don't know, e-commerce sales, and you're trying to like bring sales with particular tags, that's not going to work. And we will have to wait for the big, 3.0 or 4.0, I forget what API version they're on, to be able to get to something like that. So those two things are really important. Both classes and locations are available in the API, but custom fields and tags are not. Sorry, I'm recovering from, I don't know what I have. Hope it's not COVID, but anyway, so the last feature I wanted to mention that's in the works for 2021, which I'm very excited about, is the report builder. And there's a link there in the source if you want to watch it. It's a small clip that was part of QuickBooks Connect, where they talked about this feature that's coming up. Now, I think the feature might be QBO Advanced only. I am really hoping that they come to their senses and make this available at least in Plus, because it will be very upsetting for me if this report builder, it's only available in Advanced. But it looks like they're trying to add all the value stuff to it. But if this feature actually exists in the near future, where you can actually pick any field from any transaction and create a custom, like a pivot table type of report from it, that would be an absolute game changer. I actually had the opportunity to review this schematic with the development team. We spent an hour and a half. They basically showed me, and I gave them tons of feedback about what I would like to see and all that stuff. And I'm just super incredibly excited about this. This could be a really awesome game changer when it comes to getting custom reports in QuickBooks. But I really hope, I'm crossing my fingers, they come to their senses and they add this in Plus as well. So again, there's my email. If you have any questions and comments, anything you would like to add, I'm gonna upload the updated slides with the quick changes I made on the fly based on your feedback. So if you wait about an hour, you'll be able to download the slides with all the corrections that I've made. And the last thing I wanted to mention here is the very next webinar. If you only attend my free webinars, the very next webinar will be after New Year's. It will be January 21st, QBO for construction and contractors. You don't have to do anything. It will be, you will have that automatically. So if I don't see you again, I like to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, all the stuff that matters for this great country and the great Americans that celebrate whatever holidays they celebrate, and also a Happy New Year for the folks that attend my QuickBooks Desktop manufacturing and inventory paid webinar. That will be available next Thursday. That will be the very last one for next Thursday. And for the folks that are attending the Focus Practice Workshop in January, I'm really looking forward to. I always like coaching people and helping people through just becoming better accountants, better marketers, better pricers, streamlining their services. So I really encourage you to attend that webinar in January. If you can't be part of the small group coaching, attend the webinars, get the tax write-off. I guarantee you I will add value. And if you don't like the first one, like all my webinars, you will get your money back. Anyway, thank you everybody. Happy holidays. Thank you for attending. And I hope 2021 is the best year of all of our lives. Okay, because I'm really over 2020.